We are live. Hello and welcome. I hope this is streaming okay. We've had a power cut in Costa Rica that's lasting for 6 hours today, an intentional power cut. So I am praying that my battery lasts and also that we can have a pretty decent connection. So welcome everyone. This is Alistair of Mindful Talent. I hope you're having a beautiful day so far, and I'm incredibly excited to be joined by a great friend of mine and also one of our mentors at the Academy, someone who's trained through the Mindful Talent Academy, and someone who I've just had the pleasure of getting to know over the last few years, a gentleman called Harry Thomas. And Harry, I can see you're with us, which is awesome. So if you can accept Harry or request that you can join the call, that would be awesome. It's great to see everyone coming on here. So thank you for joining us. Harry and I are going to be exploring a little bit more about his journey and where it's taken him. So let's bring Harry in. Let's see. Is Harry joining us? There we go.
Hi, buddy.
We've got matching walls, Harry.
I'm copying you, mate.
Matching walls and matching skies. It certainly doesn't look like East London. Harry, would you like to tell the audience where you are today? Because I think you and I are closer geographically than we probably expected to have this call.
Yeah, so I'm now in Brazil. I moved here about 2 weeks ago. Still kind of finding my feet off the next steps, but it was that decision just to get away from the UK, and I'm so glad that I've done it now as well.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I know that obviously you and I have been speaking, but we've not actually had a physical face-to-face for a while. So it's nice to see you, Harry. And first of all, I want to thank you for giving up your time today and for agreeing to, come and share a bit of your story with our audience. Because, before you came on, I was explaining that you and I have known each other for quite some time now, right? We probably go back 3 years now, I'm guessing, maybe a bit longer. And I suppose I've had the opportunity to be part of your journey and to witness it and observe it. And, it's taken some magical turns, which I think when you and I first started talking, I don't know if any of us would have envisaged, what has unfolded and what is continuing to unfold for you. So I, first of all, wanted to say thank you for your time, mate. It's great to have you here. And if you're open to it, the intention behind these conversations are with people who have either, come through the Mindful Talent experience as a student or are connected to Mindful Talent in some way, but also, individuals who've been following our journey to find out, what their life has looked like since becoming involved with or connected to Mindful Talent. So if you're open to it, I'd love for you and I to spend, 20, 25 minutes, find out more about your journey, the experience that you've had with Mindful Talent, and then also where that's taking you now. What is the work that you're giving to the world and feeling inspired to do? So would you be open to sharing us a wee bit of your journey and maybe giving the overview to how you and I kind of connected in the first place?
Yeah, sure. I think that's the one thing that I can really be confident now since doing the Mindful Talent is I literally come on lives, and so you can ask me anything. So confident now with my story and to where I am now that, yeah, I'm open to answer all questions. I'm going to move inside because my phone last time overheated, which I wasn't used to. It wasn't used to that well, so I'm going to quickly go into.
Yeah, I've just tried to plug this into a power bank. So we've had a power cut today, which is lasting 6 hours. And so I've no Wi-Fi. So I'm praying to the data gods that my data lasts. And I'm also praying that this power bank works. It keeps on turning off and on. So fingers crossed, we hold out. But it's amazing, Harry, that you're going to be so open. And, welcome to everyone that I'm seeing. Rachel, lovely to see you. Sean, great to see you. Nicola, Joe. Let us know how you're all doing today. Let us know if you have any questions for Harry as we go along this journey as well. So maybe, Harry, we can rewind it back then, to when you and I first met. And can you explain kind of, I suppose, what you were doing, where you've come from, and the journey, through Mindful Talent and obviously, the experience that we've had together as well. Can you just give us that kind of backstory?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Harry. I'm from London, originally from the health and fitness. I've been a personal trainer over 16 years now. And in 2009, we opened our first personal training studio in London. And then fast forward 12 years, we had 2 studios in London, successful ones. We then set up the Fitness Academy, which I guess is like Mindful Talent Academy, but we just specified in personal trainers. And then I got into coaching through the gym floor. I got into teaching, and I thought I was a good coach. I call myself a coach all the time. And then I went through a really tough patch. I had a breakdown, quite a bad one, a massive anxiety panic attack on a reunion in Cyprus with all my friends, like who I grew up with. And I got myself in a bit of trouble a few times and had to completely just cut out all the things that weren't serving me. So I gave up alcohol. And in that time, then I stumbled across Deepak Chopra, and I was kind of getting into it. And I think I'd been connected with you. I think I had my bad experience, and there was a recruiter guy that worked for us who said, "You need to see my mate Ali from Scotland. Brilliant coach. See him." And we connected, and I always say you were persistent, but not annoying. So you would still reach out a month later to say, "How are you doing?" And I think 6 months passed, sorry. And I was training this client in my gym, and we were talking about mindfulness, meditation. And he said, "I've got this mate of mine in Scotland called Ali. He's a great coach. You should check him out." I'm like, "Ali Gray?" And I was like, and it was you. So I reached out to you. I said, "Oh, synchronicity. I think I should meet up with you." And you said, "Oh, I'm in London today, this week, so I'm out with you." And I said, "What a small world." And you said, no, what's even weirder was someone else messaged me that day and said, "I heard 2 people in the gym talking about you, and I knew it was you." And yeah, I just remember our first conversation. We was in the cafe, and you said a few things to me that it really hit home. Like, you had your own business. You said you were a laid back guy. You took things in your stride. And then all of a sudden there was a new position where there was a lot more stress. And you said you went home all the time with this stress. And your missus said, "Check out meditation." And you said, "I found this guy called Deepak Chopra." And I'm like, "Deepak saved my life." And then there was a few other things you said. And I think the one thing that really stuck with me was I just got a message, decided I'm going to be a life coach, and you went for it. So this whole conversation stuck with me because very similar, but what you did is you done that one. And I decided to do coaching with you. And I think after a few sessions, I just wanted to become a coach then. I had that intention before, but it was a knowing after. And I'm so glad I did. It was like it has changed my life completely.
Now, beautiful, Harry, and thank you for sharing, because I wanted to pick up on a few points that you made. You know, I think first of all was thank you for sharing the pain that you went through, right? In Mental Health Awareness Week, I was talking earlier on another Instagram live on my own channel about how I experienced a lot of anxiety. And I know when you and I first connected, we talked about that. I shared with you the challenges like you mentioned. And I think that at the time when you went through that pain and that suffering, you were then beginning to seek help, you know, not only through meditation and Deepak Chopra, but you were starting to reach out or to speak to people. And I wanted to say, you know, to pull that out in a week where we are shining the light of awareness on mental health, that for anyone that, you know, is going through a difficult experience right now, from the outside, you know, Harry and I probably, you know, typically wouldn't have shown that vulnerability, if you like, right? And in many respects. And it took both of us to get to the point of breakdown to realize it's something had to shift. And I wish that if I was to look back on that experience, and Harry, I'd love to hear your thoughts, but if I was to look back on that experience, I wish that prior to that, you know, breaking down, if you like, you know, many people say you have to break down to break through, but I believe that, you know, if we can prior to that breakdown, receive help or ask for help or reach out or connect, you know, I would love for this message to reach anyone that's maybe at that point where they are feeling burned out, they are feeling anxious or maybe depressed, and they're unsure what to do. And certainly reaching out is something that I think you and I have benefited from, seeking the help of others. Would that be fair to say, Harry?
Yeah, 100%. And with my coaching now, I notice that people see your message and people hear what you do, but that personal, like, to step up and go and ask for help is really difficult. And I think it's really interesting when you start looking for help and you hear the stories of other people, that we can resonate. First of all, we can understand we're not the weird one now, and like our social circles and our family, they may not understand where we're at, which now I understand's fine. Whereas before it'd be like, oh, what's wrong with me? And hearing the stories of other people, but what they did after. And actually, they're really happy at the moment, and they've made these decisions, and they've overcome all this thing and the suffering that they've been through. And I'm seeing it more and more now. It's that people at different levels, we all want to make some changes in our life, but it's that first part, we have to do changes. And that means social circles and the things that we listen to and the places we go, they differ too. So I would highly like echo what Ali said. It's being okay to ask. And you'll see when you ask people, generally ask for help, they'll come back to you, no problem. They want to help. That's what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. And our journey reflects that, Harry. I remember our first meeting, and you'd had those synchronistic, you couldn't get away from me, basically. There was 2 or 3 people saying, Ali, great. And for the audience, these were all different people that weren't connected to one another, right? It was like my name had been given to you. Bizarrely, I wasn't even living in London at the time, right? So it was like Harry was getting the signs from the universe. You know, we talk about omens a lot. We talk about following the signs. And my name had been mentioned to Harry 2 or 3 different times from 2 or 3 different sources. And I think, you know, Harry probably thought I was stalking him or something. But when we first met and we connected in the cafe, and again, Harry, I'm sure you're open for me to sharing, but you began sharing with me some of the pain and the challenges that you've been going through. And I could resonate with it. You know, I seen in you what I'd experienced in myself. And fortunately, when I went through those challenges, people came into my life almost magically, you know, almost synchronistically in the same way that you did. And it was those people that helped me to begin my healing journey. And so you mentioned I was persistent. You know, that persistence came because it was just from a place of compassion, right? I seen in you a suffering that I'd seen in myself, and I thought, I can help this guy. I really believed that. I was like, I've walked a similar path. We ran businesses. I've experienced the same emotions and feelings or similar ones, and I would love to help. And so those reach outs, as you and I began connecting and talking more, you began exploring more, you know, content and things that were, I suppose, giving you inspiration and hope. And that's what you touched on, I believe, when you were describing, when you begin to see that you're not alone and other people have walked that path and that they've been able to get beyond it and then live a happier or more fulfilled life. It kind of gives a sense of hope, right? It kind of gives a sense of, well, there is light at the end of this tunnel. There is a way out of this. Was that your experience, Harry? Just to clarify.
Yeah, definitely. And even like what you've done now, I've said, just making a decision to completely change your life, to go to a new country, for example, and then there'd be like changing the job, that these are all things that we can relate to in some way. And all it takes is one thing that you say or someone that I'm looking at, and I'm like, oh, that's me. So alcohol, giving up alcohol. You hear a story of someone else and they're like, it's the best thing I've ever done. And this is this and this. I'm like, okay, actually, it may be worth going and seeking that because they're happy. And then the beauty of all of this is you're learning all the time, because it all then applies to myself. And I think that was the thing that I've really got over the last few years since meeting you, is I've learned so much about life, but all of it I now can apply to myself. And I think when you start seeing how simple certain things that we can do, and it works, and that's like, oh my God, it worked. I did it. I picked it. From there, yeah, then it's like, what else can I do? And I think the beauty of this, even for you, that we're still in it early stages, really, in our coaching careers, if we look at our lifespan and the excitement of what can come from this, because there's so much that's been happening already.
Yeah, absolutely, Harry. And I want to actually use this point as a point of kind of inflection to just, one, kind of say how grateful I am, right, to have been part of your journey. I want to express to the viewers the transformation that Harry has went through. You know, I think when you and I connected, Harry, you've thrown yourself in, right, literally, to this world of personal development, spiritual growth, getting to know yourself inside out, getting to understand life. Like, you've become like this incredible student of life and everything that exists. And I want to just share that back with you, because I think it's incredibly inspiring, right? The journey that you've went on, like completely inspiring, right? And I take so much inspiration from your journey and my own journey, and I really want to feed that back to you and just express my gratitude and appreciation for what you've been through and how you've come through it, and the way that you're living your life and the way that you're helping people now, which we'll come on to, because you're really doing some magical work in the world. And I also want to ask, what gave you the motivation and the inspiration, right? Because we would come back together in sessions or when we're catching up, and you'd be saying, I've read this and I've learned this and I've signed up to this course. And, like, it was almost like that insatiable thirst for knowing, or that knowledge of the self and of life, was a driving force. So I wanted to ask, how did that switch happen, right? And it may not be a simple moment, right? But can you just try and describe that? Because I think it's really inspiring to have witnessed in you.
Yeah, I was a PT. I call myself a PT still now, and I believe that I was very good at what I did, and we went, what people perceive as a PT, we went down a whole holistic route, and we were always learning and trying to get the best out of people's lives, not just within the gym floor. But I was living a completely alternative life in my social side, like my escape. I was partying all the time. I did a few drugs. I got him in a really bad way, and then on top of that, I ended up in a silly incident where I got arrested, and I was in a cell for 40 hours in Spain. And at that moment, I didn't have any control of my life at all, and I was staring at the cell. It was like a Hollywood movie. Like, people say you can make this up. I had urine coming in my cell. I had 3 meals of cans a day for 40 hours. I'm not that sort of person at all. And it was that moment where I come back and I was like, I can't do this anymore, because it wasn't making me happy. It was that not knowing and not remembering. And that was a regular occurrence at the weekends. So with the stopping drinking was my first part. And I had to learn to change, like to be able to say no, which was difficult, or to be confident enough to say, no, I'm not drinking tonight. Whereas before it was a glass of wine, but there was water in there, or I'm putting like alternatives in. And I think the more I started being more confident of saying no, and being confident with, I'm okay going out with my mates, and I'm actually remembering the night that was a good DJ player, and that things that I didn't notice before. I went to Coachella and I was completely sober. I remembered the whole 3 days. It was incredible. And yeah, and I think just from that feeling of, I've made a decision now, which is met with a lot of resistance and a sign of weakness and maybe insecurities from my side. But when I started doing it and I started feeling the benefits from it, and I think there was nothing better of getting home, waking up at 8 in the morning, fresh, and where 8 in the morning on certain occasions. So it was, I think that sense of change that I did it. And then, yeah, just listening to books. I wasn't really much of a reader initially, and I read a few books initially, and I was like, whoa, actually that makes sense. It was just like, I'm in control of my thoughts. For my business that maybe wasn't performing where I want to, they just showed you just simple things, be more organized, and yeah, it come into a snowball. And my reading, or book listening and reading, is, I think it's about 160 books now I've gone through in 3 years. And it's not just, I remember before I'd go on courses just to go on a course, tick, I've done that. Whereas now I'm looking for the next book for me, or to help with my coaching practice. And the brilliant thing about being a life coach is that really you just live life, and then whatever I experience, I can now use as social media content, I can use as stories from my clients, or I can pick up experiences myself which can help people. So I get excited about everything I do. And yeah, so maybe I waffled on a tiny bit then. I just think when you give something a go, and you can personally take something away from it and apply it and see the difference that it does quite quickly, then all of a sudden it is, what else can I do? And when I met you, and you're already doing things that I didn't even know was possible, or it's that belief that when you realize actually other people can do what I want to, but there was a fear attached to it, now they're doing it easily, I can now go and do that. And I think that's the exciting thing, was each time I'm applying new things, making me a better person, making me feel better, and then making me be able to help more people.
Yeah, wow, Harry, that's beautiful, man, and thank you for sharing that moment of realization, right, in the cell, and how the realization, this isn't me. This isn't a true reflection of who I am. And then how you made the courageous step to say, I'm going to say no, I'm not going to drink, I'm going to become sober, which I know that, that's met with a lot of resistance. You and I have had similar journeys, it's in the same way that I had to make some of these difficult decisions on a social level because I knew it was distorting who I was. And I think it's such a powerful message, Harry. And as you've then went on to read the 160 books and you've went into courses and thrown yourself into this way of living, I think certainly from my own experience, the information that we put into ourselves, right, that we consume, also has an incredible impact on the way that we think, right? And the way that we think typically determines the way that we live. And the way that we live typically determines how we inspire others or help others or contribute to the world in a positive way. And I want to again pull that little nugget of wisdom out that you gave, because, most people know this fact now that we have, 40 to 80,000 thoughts a day, some way more, some a little bit less, but they reckon it's around 60,000 on average, right? And 95% of those thoughts are repeatable, and 80% of them is negative in their nature, right? And so what you essentially have done over your journey is you've said, well, knowing that, I'm going to consume information that is positive in its nature, information that is thought-provoking, information that helps me become a better human being, information that helps me to inspire others, to help others, to communicate who I really am in a way that gives back, if you like, to this world. And, for me, the journey was the same thing. It's like I've been consuming now for almost 10 years, like goodness. I just got hit by a huge bug. I've been consuming now for years, like this goodness, right? So that when I do get into periods where I feel down or challenged, I've got, all of this knowledge within me. So again, is there any standouts from this journey of knowledge that you've been on? Is there any standouts? We've both mentioned Deepak Chopra. I know we're both, big fans of Deepak. Is there any other things like books or resources that you read or that gave you a moment of realization or insight that you would recommend to the audience?
Yeah, I would say initially, I think the thing as well is that when we're making changes, like for example, you look at a video and it says an hour long. I ain't got an hour, so I don't even bother looking at it. Or I get a book recommendation from someone and you don't. So I'd say the first thing is whatever you're recommended and stuff, save it, but don't do it all in one go, but take chunks from it. And then the videos led on to people like Wayne Dyer, Jim Rohn, Les Brown, and their stories. It just gets you just feeling good and making want to make a change. So I'd say visual would be looking at those guys. The real book for me was New Earth, Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah.
Every part of it, and I can listen to it at any chapter at any time, and it just resonates. And I think consistency of just reading books for you, not so much, oh, that's the latest selling book and it's great on mindset. It has to resonate with you. So find out who the author is and kind of get connected to it that way. And what happens is everything that I used to read, it was go, all of a sudden it was starting to be reconfirmed from some of the authors that I'm reading now. And pretty much people speak the same language, but it's a little twist to it each time. But it's all similar things. And I think between the books, you could say every book speaks three things exactly the same. There might be 20 different things they all talk about, but three things across the books will match. And then going into meditation, I think for me, that's number one. And before meditation, I just say to people, when we want to make changes, someone else may suggest something. Now, I don't do that. I'm not that sort of person. All I'm going to ask is if you can actually see it is genuine, it is from a place of compassion, there's some teachings behind it as well, and they're doing it. At least give it a go without the, oh God, just turn up and let go. And I think that's what I really got from the meditation. Now I could sell meditation all day. Like, I don't even call it meditation. Take some time out for yourself. Create your own rave, beautiful euphoric rave in your head. Go out and then go back into it again. Like, you can do anything you want when your eyes are closed.
I love it, Harry, and I'm going to pull out some of these gems, and we will move on to hear about this, euphoric rave in your head, because these are some of the experiences that you're delivering, which are beautiful. But you mentioned some of the speakers there who we know and love. You mentioned Wayne Dyer, Les Brown. Another favourite of mine is Bob Proctor, Deepak Chopra we've mentioned. Like, these are starting points for anyone that's watching this. I used to listen to Deepak Chopra and be like, what is this guy even talking about, right? It made no sense to me at first. He was talking about the field of pure potentiality and, you know, the cosmos. And I was like, wow, am I tripping? What's going on? Does this even make sense? But over time, it began to make more sense. And Wayne Dyer, who you mentioned, is one of my most favorite teachers, you know, an incredible human being to walk this planet. You can watch any Wayne Dyer video on YouTube and you will leave inspired. You will leave having taken something from it. But I love the approach and the tip that you gave, Harry, where, you know, do things in bite-sized chunks. You know, if a video is an hour long, don't not listen to it because of the length of it. Listen to 5 minutes. You know, a lot of the time you listen to 5 minutes of that sort of content, and next thing you know, you're 30 minutes in or 4 hours into a Wayne Dyer wormhole on YouTube. It's like, you know, there's something enticing and something beautiful about that content that once you engage in it, once you get over the thought that it's too long, you're in it. So I loved how you talked about breaking it down. You mentioned another teacher that both you and I love, Eckhart Tolle, in his book, A New Earth. You know, The Power of Now is one of my favorites and all-time favorites. Like you, I dip into that. I don't even read the whole book now. I dip into it at different points and it resonates. So I suppose the message to anyone watching this is that wherever you are on your personal development journey, your spiritual path, you know, if that word doesn't resonate, your self-growth path, wherever you are on it, continue on it. Do your best to consume content which is going to uplift your spirit, reignite your soul, help you connect to that deep sense of who you are as a human being, to realize more of that true self, right? Because through that realization, and Harry is such a great example of this, you begin connecting and communicating with people and life and, you know, experiences in a much different way. You begin to see the beauty in everything. Our relationship with the natural environment changes through that process, right? And God, our planet needs that right now.
So my mum flowers in the garden. I didn't care about them. I used to kick them. Now I'm like, no, the flowers.
Well, it does, right? It changes the way that you feel about everything. Now, we're running way over, Harry, but I'm loving this conversation, so I'd love for you to stay on if that's okay. Are you okay for time?
Yeah, this is my space always now. I love this.
But we're going to come to what it is that you're delivering now, because it's really exciting. Before we do that, I just want you to touch upon your journey with Mindful Talent. You know, we talked about how you and I met. You then came and decided to train with us. Can you just tell us a little bit about that? You know, and people are saying, yeah, so yeah, give us a thumbs up if you're happy for us to continue talking. But can you tell us a little bit about your journey through Mindful Talent and obviously how you've remained connected to Mindful Talent as well?
Yeah, I would say, well, after this, I'd say definitely check out Mindful Talent. Just personal growth alone. And I think you learn so much about life, you learn so much about yourself, you learn so much of how you can start combining the two. But that was just a tiny bit. That makes it incredible anyway. So I met Ali, had some coaching sessions, I'm going to do the course. And then it was a virtual course. I'm not used to virtual courses. I always liked meeting people. I'm not that sort of guy again in my old identity. And I remember the first call, there was a lot of people on our course. We all introduced ourselves, a lot of nerves, a lot of kind of worries about what's going to come ahead. And I don't think people anticipated what was included in it. And then as you start going through the sessions and the material, again, it's things that you apply straight away. And there was for example, there was a part of listening, and there was an exercise that's the best part of the course. And everyone tells you at the moment, when this happens, you'll literally know it works. And we had 4 people in our room, and there was this silence, and you could see everyone's face that, oh my God, it works. So these are skills that you can start applying straight away. No, not even hard work. And that's my spiritual journey. And that word used to scare the hell out of me. Spirituality for me was simplifying things to its basic form. It just feels right. That's too heavy energy, that's too confusing. And that's how this course was. There was presenting us with some science, with some research, and loads of cases where it works. All you have to do is then do it yourself. And one of the key things that Mindful Talent teach you is trust the process. And honestly, that's what I'd encourage to trust the process, because you're individual as you come in. you're part of this whole amazing community after, and it's growing and growing. I think you've got 70 plus people in your current cohort, and you don't just, they're not just a course and then you see you later. You're friends with them, and I think that's another highlight for me is, as I've changed, you have your friends that you grow up with, and they're always your friends. But what I've really found difficult was making new friends. There was just a colleague that I saw, there was a nice person that I met, but there was no kind of desire to get them in my life. Now it's like I want to connect straight away, and Mindful Talent really, really showcased that. So that, yeah, the course was brilliant in terms of what we learned and how we applied it. I thought I was a coach doing PT. I thought I was a good mentor and a good educator teaching students, and I come from a good place, but it was my agenda always. Do this, do that, eat this, eat that. Mindful Talent teaches you that it's not about our agenda. It's about the person in front of you, your client. And you're there just to listen, be curious, ask some challenging questions, and you'll see the magic happens. And again, now I communicate with my friends, my family and stuff. I listen. My friends' kids, I'm the best with their kids, but because I'm giving them attention. So yeah, I loved every moment of it, and I would encourage, if you're a bit stuck or what you want to do in life, I'd say just go and do that course, because it'll help whatever career you go down after. I'm a personal trainer, and I just said now the best advice for a personal trainer, go and do a life coaching course first, because all of a sudden you get people focused on their mindset, their sleep, their nutrition and the exercise. They'll get better results without stressing themselves and feeling dead after the sessions. So yeah, it's an incredible course. You can apply it to everything. But what I loved after, if I'm waffling, but it's worth it.
No, it's great.
Yeah, it's the community after. So they've got a program called Cutting Edge. So most courses I've done before, and you're doing, there's no after support at all. You are just kind of left in front. The community and the additional learnings that we get. Like, I feel confident enough now to keep going back to this group, trying it, being a bit scared, then back again, feeling okay, and then going again, because everyone else is on that same journey. And then I got into mentoring, and that was incredible too. I was grateful enough to be connected with a few students going through the journey that I went through. So I can now share my experiences. I can show what I'm currently doing at the moment without bragging or anything. That's just what I do now. And also we have these really cool connections, and yeah, there's always a career path, I would say, with Mindful Talent in terms of just the development for yourself, but also then you've got the mentoring, you've got teaching, we've done corporate days. It just shows you what else you can do with coaching.
Yeah, it's beautiful, Harry, because you said a few things, right? You talked about some of the skills that you learn, and listening, you know, is one of the main ones that you took out of it. And I was the same when I first trained. I was like, why have we never been taught this? It was like this mind-blowing insight to something that we obviously do every day. But what I realized is I didn't do it very well every day, like up until training as a coach. And, you know, you said any advice you give to future personal trainers is train as a life coach. And I say the same thing, whether that is through Mindful Talent. That's actually how Mindful Talent Coaching Academy was formed, because I finished the course and said to Michelle, like, everyone needs to train as a coach. Like, I still believe that to this day. Like, we've had, and you know this, we've had almost all our family members go through the course. Larry and I, like, we've had our sisters on it, we've had cousins, you know, my cousin's husband's currently going through the course. You know, like, we've had our family members go through this who had no intention, some of them, to become coaches. But because we've seen the impact it has on relationships, because we see the impact it has on people's minds and hearts opening up. You know, you said something beautiful earlier where you said, you know, the one thing I encourage people to have is an open mind to this stuff. And we teach that, right? We teach have an open mind, an open heart, and an open will. And I think that expansiveness, you know, that realization that actually when our mind is open, the world of possibility and opportunity opens up. The world for deeper connection opens up. The world to live a life that is more in alignment with who we really are opens up. So, you know, I loved as you described your experience there. And thank you for touching on the community aspect as well, because, you know, that means a lot. We've been putting a lot of attention and focus on how do we serve the community more. And, you know, we're still learning. We're still a young, you know, ultimately we're a toddler in terms of, you know, our years as a company, Mindful Talent Academy. But of course we have Michelle, who's been training coaches since 2002, 2003. So I appreciate you touching on the community aspect, and I know that you've made many friends through this experience. I want to now move on because I really want to hear, right, and I want the audience to hear. You've went through this experience, you've transformed, you've came from a considerable period of pain and suffering and mental health challenges to retraining, to re-educating, to ultimately transforming yourself and your life. And now you're doing incredible work, Harry, right? And I'd love for you to talk about the work that you're doing, since training and going on this journey. Can you tell us a little bit about how you're serving, who you're serving, and some of the experiences you've had? And we'll try and wrap this up in like the next 10 minutes, but I'm really excited for you to share, what you're doing in the world and anything that you feel would benefit the audience.
Yeah, so I'd say my full-time career now, I'm a coach, and I absolutely love everything about it. The coaching, like personal training, there's loads of coaches out there, loads of personal training out there, and a lot of people say, oh, it's coaching. And I believe for me, it's really allowing people to find themselves. And that word is, again, a bit woo-woo, but literally understanding, what do I like? What feels right to me? What am I doing in terms of my actions now that wasn't serving me? And then reflecting and changing that. And you do all that just by being there, having a conversation. Personal training, I'm writing full programs, I'm doing nutrition plans, I'm doing all this other stuff. Whereas if you just sit and listen to something, no judgment, all that stuff happens anyway. So the coaching aspect is, I'm serving clients one-on-one. I've got a group coaching program launching very soon as well. And then I've got my own creation. And this is what I love doing. I know in terms of our purpose, this is definitely my one. It's called Think Future Feel Now. And it's a unique experience, and everyone takes their own experience from it. I would now label it as a healing experience, because what it allows people to do is understand that we have a past, present, and future continuum. A lot of our thoughts, 95% of them from the day before, we live in the past quite a lot. The future, there's a want, but there's also a worry, but none of it's happened yet. What I help people do is get away from the past, rather than letting it define you. That's not who you are. We can go into it, we can learn from it, and then we can come to this moment. But what I allow people to do is get creative and go into the future, into a life that they create, their dream life. But the whole time is how they feel. It's the feeling that really matters, because I can think my past and I can worry about that, but that feeling's inside me now. Or I can worry about the future and it hasn't happened yet, but that worry, that's inside me now. So if the future hasn't happened, we can worry about it. My aim then is to do the opposite. Let's focus on what you do want. And the beauty of this is combined with music, and I've really learned quite a lot of how music affects our nervous system. And I guide you through this space. So you could call it meditation. It's a lot more than that, because you literally go off into your own your own little journey. And people come out. I had one lady, 27 minutes in silence. I was literally saying, I've got to go to my next session. I had to leave her, and she was just staring at me. Like, it's a lot to take in, but all of it you felt. And I guess if I could summarize it, what I've realized recently, as a human being, we have to go through all these emotions. And we do live in fear states, and we're stressed and anxious. But also we have had moments where we have been happy, and there is love in our life and stuff. But if you think about it, they're all past. We felt them all, but our head goes to the ones that don't serve us, because we worry, we don't want it to happen. In this whole experience, you go through all these different feelings. You go through love and hate and regret and all these different things. And by the end of it, I'm like, who was in control of all of them? You was, and you're just flicking them. Right, let's go to love, let's go to happiness, let's go here. But you felt all of it. And what I think the experience that people get from it is, after there's a realization that you can create what you want, because you feel it, it feels right. Then you go and make it happen. And that's where coaches then can come in. So it's a unique experience. It allows people to get out their head. It allows people to really come back to who they are and what they want out of life. And just to give an idea of, like, I had one guy who had to make a decision where to move to. Got a job that allows him to go anywhere. And before we went into it, he named Spain, America, Austria was his home, and somewhere else. I said, what resonates with you? And it's like, definitely Spain, America. by the end of it, he come out and was like, Austria, I've got to go back home. My sister's having a baby. I'm a family guy. But I saw beaches, I saw cities, so I know I'm going to be traveling. And it was a confirmation. And I've had that over 150 times, I'd say now. It's and it's in the space of 15 minutes.
Listen, it's people are saying it sounds amazing, Harry. I can be a live testimonial here. You know, I've experienced Harry's gift on a couple of occasions, and each time it's connecting me to a deeper knowing or a deeper sense of who I am, and giving me guidance, right? Like you mentioned, that client, it is an incredibly unique experience as well, right? It's, you know, I think, you know, certainly from my experience, you're original in this space and the way that you're doing it, right? And the way that you give this gift to people. So anyone that's watching this, you've heard Harry's story today, go and check out Think, Future, Feel Now. Connect with Harry, get an experience with him, right? It's an amazing experience. And I think, Harry, you know, some of the stuff that I've witnessed in your coaching as well, and, you know, I want to touch on this, is that you've really been there to help people in extreme times of need, right? People who've been suffering and individuals who've been going through challenges. You've been giving your time and giving your experience to really help people in moments that they needed the help. And so can you tell me Daryl's just said it truly is, he's had the experience as well. Can you tell us, Harry, just a little bit more about your inspiration now? You talked about your purpose. What is it that's inspiring you to move forward and serve in this way?
I think in the space of 3 years, I've understood how I'm in control of being happy always. And it starts from the moment I get up deciding I'm having a great day today. And like, that's how simple it can be. And I'm doing it again and again and again. And every time these negative things happen in my life, yeah, I do suffer. I do get pet, but I can snap out of it a lot quicker. I'm not dwelling on it now. And I've seen how much my life has changed. If you looked at me 3 years ago, I'm not the same person. Like, my mum was like, oh, I like the old Harry. People are not used to it. But what I ask people, just give me a bit more patience and see this is always going to be me, but keep growing and keep turning up with them. I smile now. It's like a natural fit on my face. I never smiled before like that. It was always, and yeah, so I think that feeling of being able to do that and being in control of it in a short space of time, I want to just show people that they're in control. It's not me telling you what to do. It's not waiting for some magical thing to happen. It's you can start right away. And the beauty of coaching now, I'm very good at calling out people and the language that people use as well. We put our own traps on us by saying things like, I might do, I try to, hopefully, or I want to. I'm like, why do you want to start now? I will. And if you don't want to do it, then it allows you to say no. And that's another really powerful thing. And yeah, so it's simple things that I know will change the world. And again, now I say everything that happens in my life, that affects my life. So if there's a lot of suffering, there's a lot of miserable people, and there's a lot of heckle and all this stuff, that affects my life. So if I can now start helping people to change their lives, and that then trickles down to their family and their friends, my life's going to be better too.
Beautiful, Harry. And that's like the perfect example of compassion and contribution and giving, which, you know, that's what I've witnessed in you, is this real desire to give back and help and heal other human beings. I want to come back and just end this conversation powerfully, but I also want to acknowledge that our power has just came back on after 6 hours, and my blender, which must have been on when it cut off, has come on, and it sounds like it's about to take off. Let me go and change this. But whilst I'm away, I've got to turn it off. It sounds like it's a helicopter in my house. As I go and do this, has anyone got any questions for Harry, or anyone got any things that you'd like to say and and ask Harry whilst we've got a few more minutes? Let me turn this off and I'll be back in 10 seconds. Harry, you can feel free to share anything else about your journey, because I don't want to end it on this point, but I do need to turn this off. 2 seconds.
Yeah, any questions, guys? I'm more than happy to answer. Just trying to scroll back through.
I'm back. Thankfully, the blender, I had this the concern that the blender might have been overheating or flying by the time I got in there.
The oranges going around the kitchen.
No. So, people are saying, Harry, what a guy. Love the name too from Custon. Daryl said it truly is an amazing experience. We've had a lot of people watching here today, and I think, you know, to conclude the session, Harry, I want to just say that you, especially during Mental Health Awareness Week, you know, you are a shining light of hope, right, for so many people who may find themselves in a challenging space, and have embodied and shown that within a space of 3 years, your life has transformed, right? You're in Brazil at the moment. You've made some pretty big life decisions, but you've taken those decisions in your stride. You've become a dedicated student to understanding yourself, to know yourself on a deep level. And then through that experience of inner transformation, you've then found a sense of purpose and meaning to give back and serve others. So I really am hugely grateful that you've came on here today. And like I said, I hope this is inspiration to anyone. There are a few questions coming through, actually. And Daryl said, where do you see yourself in 5 years, Harry?
I believe now what I've created can impact everyone wherever I go. So my aim now is to start living life and going to all these different places and being able to coach people wherever I go. So I'm currently in South America, and the aim is to get up and around there. But the big goal is to sell out the Royal Albert Hall. I think I told your sister last week, and yeah, in 5 years now, maybe it was 10, but I want to maybe reduce that and sell out the Royal Albert Hall with an experience and just getting everyone connected and feeling this energy whilst doing it.
I love that, Harry. I can picture it in my mind's eye, following the footsteps of one of your idols with Eckhart Tolle, right, and his experience. Beautiful. Jess has said, the difference in you, Harry, is so inspiring to see. So happy for you and the journey you've been on and continue on, and the way that you're helping people. Daryl saying yes. Sandra saying, yeah, Lynette, it's done, Daryl. Harry, I think you've inspired many people in this conversation today. Like I said, I hope that you've shared what you intended to share. If you've anything else to say, Harry, to anyone watching, any last lines of inspiration?
Yeah, I would say end the day today with just some journaling. And I always like to explain your body is a genie. All your feelings are within your body, like all of them. The happiness, it's there. Love's there. Pain, it's anxiety, it's all here. So just imagine like the cartoon, whatever is in your genie will come true. So all I want you to do is go in and pull out what's not serving you, then deep memories, and write on a bit of paper. That's it. And then at the end of that bit of paper, just write down things you're grateful for, and then just close the book before you go to bed and just see what happens the next day. And I just found that sometimes we don't like to express ourselves, or the people we're expressing ourselves, they're not listening. So it stays within us. And I think there's a beauty of being able to write something down and just observing it. So that would be my wisdom for today.
I love it, Harry. Listen, ending the night with journaling. I love the genie analogy, and gratitude. You know, I think a grateful mind is a happy mind, and a grateful heart is a true heart. So to everyone watching, we've ran way over than expected. Harry and I thought it was going to be 25 minutes, but I think, I certainly felt, that this was an important conversation to have, and a very inspirational one. So Daryl saying we want more. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Harry, thank you so much for joining us. We're on a similar time zone now, so maybe we can get you and the Think Future Feel Now experience to Costa Rica. That would be awesome.
That'd be incredible. Guys, just a quick one. Check out Ali and check out Mindful Talent as well, because they've really impacted my life, and there's so many other people that say exactly the same. I don't think Ali's content gets seen enough, and I think every time you watch it, you can take something away. So I'd encourage tune into their pages also.
Man, thank you so much, Harry. I appreciate that from the deepest part of my heart. So listen, everyone, have a beautiful evening, a beautiful day, wherever you are. Harry, thank you so much. I think we need to do a part 2 at some point. So, I appreciate your time as always, and it's great to connect. Everyone else, like I said, go forward, stay grateful, ask people if they need help, or you need to, you can give your ear to someone, certainly during this week as well, where we're shining the light of awareness of mental health. And let's make this world a more beautiful place. Everyone, thank you so much. Harry, take care, my friend. Bye-bye.
Cheers, Alex.